I'm so excited about this journey. They are different, but they are not less. It's their weakness, but it also becomes their strength. You've got to be your child's advocate because they have nowhere else to go. And they need this. They're the next gen. They are the next in line to be great in this world. And they can be if they have the right support from their parents. Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome to Greener Informative Talk with Lerato and Cherise. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to start this journey with you, and it's our first time.
I'm excited. Very excited.
Nervous. Yeah, but we're starting it and we're doing it, and we'll be talking everything about additional needs, education, helping teachers, parents, and everything else that we need to talk about. Yes. And we are at the UAE. It's very hot right now, and we're enjoying the weather. And
not so much.
Not so much.
It's very hot. No.
It's very hot. Yeah. I miss South Africa weather now.
Yes. Yeah. Winter.
Yeah.
Versus heat.
Yeah. The weather could be better. Alrighty, let's get into it.
Yes.
Our business for today, and we were talking about our life experience, especially in the UAE and in the educational sector, that is particularly. And let's start. Where did we meet?
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, and when?
Sure. A few years back, at a school in the UAE where my kids go to. Lerato worked in the SEND department, which is like an inclusions team, to help those who just require extra needs, whether it be maths or language or social skills. And Lerato was working there, and her and I have been connected since. She's been a great help for my boy Brendan, which is 14 years old. He's been diagnosed with dyslexia the year that we moved to the UAE. And that's how the journey started.
Yeah, and to be honest, one thing that intrigued me and what I loved about you when we first met is how you were so involved. For the first time, seeing a parent teaching teachers and coming to school and telling us this is what you can do to enhance my boy education and in how he can be able to learn. And I was like, wow, I've never seen this before, and that's how it started. And I would actually go out, and I remember particularly you gave us 2 books, me and my manager, and we were reading it, and I was like, sure, wow, this is just incredible. And I was just opened to another world. And it has been quite a wonderful journey to understand inclusion within the mainstream, because I know back home it's something that we didn't do much and we didn't know anything about it, and a lot of people are crying out and they have kids, they don't know what's going on. In the olden days, corporal punishment was still there, and they'll be beaten up because they're not learning. And I remember some of the kids used to say that, when the teacher is teaching, I understand what they're saying, but when I have to do it on my own, I can't. And teachers would think that they're just stupid, or they don't want to learn, or they're naughty, all of these things. And only to find out it's just they learn in a different way, and we need to understand that. And in the past 4 years of my journey in the UAE, it has really helped me working in the inclusion department and also being a teacher. Has really helped me so much to understand all of the needs that children have in school, and what we can do as teachers, what parents can do, and what kids can do themselves to help themselves and to understand the curriculum. So it has been quite an interesting journey, but I just want you to just take us through your journey. And Brendan, we want to know And how did you notice that there's something different with him?
Well, it started when he walked early and he crawled early. But at that time it was like, wow, my child's early with walking. So that's usually the response you get because your kid learns all these new things and as a parent you're so excited. So that was the first thing, but I didn't notice at the time. And then it started with sensory things like if we play outside, he would walk all along the concrete pathway instead of on the grass. Like he would avoid the grass at all costs. So he didn't like certain textures, which is part of what he has. Is a sensory integration difficulties. And then he didn't speak up until before he turned 3. So he did occupational therapy from 2.5. He did, and once, I can't remember when we started speech, so we did speech as well. He was assessed at school, the different schools that he was at the time. And when he was 5, turning 6, that's usually grade R in South Africa, they would start doing a bit more of preparation work for them to be ready for the first year in primary. And that's where he started finding it very difficult. He used to cry to go to school, which he never used to do. And the teachers would call me in, saying that he's got struggles, that he just bawls. He just cries and he melts down. And I mean, that's 5. That's very soon. It's very early. It's not even in primary school yet. So then the school actually suggested we take him to educational psychologist. So we've seen 3.
Sure.
I got more than one opinion. And he saw a neurologist as well. And everybody that we saw at the time said that he had ADHD or diagnosed with ADHD. My motherly instincts kicked a little bit against it because a lot of things didn't make sense at the time based on what the professionals explained. There was a whole bunch of other things. I can't think of it at the top of my head right now, but so I decided to just tackle it on my own and do research and speak to other people and get connected, which is exactly what I did, and observe him myself and see what happens when we do schoolwork. And I could see there was a lot of difficulty. He had a lot of anxiety, stressing very quickly. And yeah, that's how the journey started. Eventually, finally, after many years of moving him into schools, trying to get educational psychologists involved and getting speech therapy involved, and he was actually in a special school that specifically worked on the spectrum kids, so they would have the high spectrum children and the low spectrum children. And it was a lovely place to be because they had a sensory room and there was a speech therapist on board, there was children kinesthetic programs on board, there was occupational therapy on board. It was just amazing. But my whole thing was I didn't want to put him on medication. I wanted to find what it was and to try and guide him and make him use his strengths, which he has, because they do have such lovely strengths. And that was how our journey started. Before we moved to the UAE, my sister-in-law told me, just try this one lady, just this once more. Because eventually I'd stopped everything because I didn't want him to think that there's something wrong with him. And we just carried on our own. I tried different programs, we did a whole bunch of different things. He continued with occupational therapy. And then I went to this lady that my sister-in-law asked me to go to. And that was our moment. Yes, it was amazing. Everything she explained, it was just to the T, and it absolutely made sense from a scientific point of view, from symptoms, everything, just the puzzles just fit, and it was just amazing. I was actually happy to know that we finally know what it is, so now we can move forward and we can work from there. And then the research continued. It was amazing.
So how long did it take?
He was diagnosed when he was 10.
10.
So from 5 to 10 was 5 years.
So 5 years. Wow.
5 years, wow. Yes.
So in my mind, while you're just talking, I'm thinking, you as a mother, how did you feel all of that processes and all of that? Obviously, your child being labeled with different, I would say, names in terms of, I would say, obviously the medical field. That is that he has this, he has that, and like you're saying, your mother instinct is kicking in, saying that no, there's something more to it. I just need to find it. And sometimes it's quite easy to say your child has this, and this is the medication, and life continues.
Yes.
But you didn't stop at that. You did research. You continue doing it. But how were you feeling all of in that process? That process of you trying to find out what could be something different with Brendan.
It was quite challenging. It was lonely because you can't justify it or you can't explain it, but you just have this God-given instinct that God has blessed us with, you know, and you just gotta go with that.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was really difficult because I didn't have the facts to back what I'm feeling. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But I'm happy because there were many times where I would sit and think maybe I should just give him medication, just go for it, and maybe it'll just be easier. But many times I just had this voice shouting, no.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I listened to that voice because we're on a very different path now, and I'm so happy that we.
And you're also now doing homeschooling with the boys, and he's loving it, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, because I have seen the difference with him being in school, because obviously being in school, and I'm not saying at any point that the mainstream school is not inclusive. It is, especially in the UAE. However, I have seen, particularly with Brendan, how he has blossomed with using the strategy of being at home. And obviously exploring certain things that obviously at school you have boundaries, there's structure and all of that. But being at home has brought another side that would help him to blossom, help him to be more creative with what he has, because the curriculum is not so concrete like it would be in the normal school setting. So do you think you made it best decision? I don't want to say a good one, but a best decision.
We never know as parents, right?
Yeah.
You never know, so you just gotta have faith, pray, and just go for it.
Yeah, pray. Yeah.
So prayer is a big thing.
Yeah.
So that has been my absolute strength. And I think versus from school versus where he is now, I think it was the right decision. And you know, it's like anything else, is trial and error as we go.
Yeah, trial and error.
It really is. I'm just saying it's the only way I can get myself to calm. But it is.
It is. Yeah, surely it is. This life, it is all full of trial and error and trying to know what best you can do, especially as a parent. It's not easy for all of us because you think it's best, but tomorrow it's the worst.
I know.
The following day you like, oh, but I think I made a good decision about this. So and how did this change your life? The past 5 years trying to find out, because obviously you have to adjust how you do things from the traditional way of raising a child that would be classified normal. You know, and how has that changed your life, or also your parenting style?
Also challenging. You know what? And actually, I've read a book once, and I'm sure we'll dive into that topic at a later stage. A lovely, lovely parenting training book. That the one specific thing that stood out for me was that when we have children, we tend to put on this cap of we're in charge, we know what we're doing. This is parenting, you must listen. We sort of carry this, I'm trying to find the right word to explain it, but I can't think of it now. We
have the authority.
Yes, like authority. And but we don't realize that even though they are little, they have their own personalities. and we also need to adapt with them.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different thing to be a parent. You know, and they've got personalities, they're individuals. God has created each one perfectly and unique, and we have to find ways around each other together. You know, so it was different for me. I mean, I was a working parent. I was in the construction industry. Then I switched up the studies. I did beautician courses. And then that's it, when everything happened with Brendan, and it was a big decision, but I do not regret it to this day, because I know there's many doors that will open for him, and he has that, you know, that advantage for him in life, which I know a lot of parents don't have, a lot of children don't have. So I'm very fortunate to have had that decision that I could make to help him and guide him through that. So, I don't regret it at all.
It sounds amazing that you had to take a life-changing decision for you to be able to make sure that Brendan is in a place where in the future he will be secured, he will be able to interact with the world. Because sometimes kids that are diagnosed, especially also with autism and all of that, they struggle to go outside to socialize, they struggle to even find jobs because of how they're raised, because that's included saying that you have this, you're not part of us, you can do this, you can not take cues, all of those things. Then they start to close up and be in the shell, you know.
And that's dangerous. You don't want that happening. There's an autistic woman, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of her. Her name is Temple Grandin, and she is, she thinks she's got Asperger's, but she has this amazing journey. She does a lot of talks, and there's a lot of people that interview her, and she explains that even though she was autistic, and back in her days, I think she's over 60, I could be wrong, but she's quite old, and she explained that even though you have autism, in her childhood she was always raised that there's still boundaries, and she went through university, she went through school, she went through university, mainstream, and I mean they didn't know at the time, but the things that they find, they adapt. You find ways and things and they adapt, and that's sort of, it's like a bittersweet. It's their weakness, but it also becomes their strength. You know. She's amazing. You have to go check her out. She's really awesome.
Definitely can check her out.
And that's one thing that I took from her, is that even though we have children with different kinds of needs and different learning abilities, and whether it be strengths and weaknesses all together, they find coping mechanisms. They really do. I know Brendan has a sensory thing where he can't be around big groups or noisy places. So he has noise cancelling headphones that he wears, for instance. But he tries not to wear them until it's absolutely necessary. So he'll carry them around his neck, and when it's absolutely necessary, he'll put them on. So to see that drive, no, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm pushing through. You know, and they've got this amazing something else, you know, about their drive that just becomes their superpower, which is amazing. Which is just one topic, you know. There's so many others.
Yeah, and one thing I know specifically with Brendan is how empathic and compassionate he is. Like when I met him, I'm like, wow, this boy. Like there's just something about him that even most kids, you would greet them like, good morning, how are you? Good. How was your weekend? Your weekend is good. But Brendan is one of those kids that will ask you, how are you, Mr. Arthur? Wow, okay, I'm good. How was your weekend? So I'm like, oh, okay, my weekend is good, because you didn't expect it. You don't even know how to answer it.
Yes.
And I started, whenever I would ask him how he is, I would actually think how I'm feeling, because he's going to ask me back. And he's so genuine about it, and I don't want to just say it for the sake of saying it. You know, I also want him to have that relationship with him. So yeah, they're so compassionate, so empathetic. Like he's just a lovable boy in so many ways, as much as he's different in so many ways. And when I say different, it's not in a bad way that people would think.
No.
It's just he learns differently from the maybe 80% of other kids how they learn, and it's something that we need to embrace. It's something that we need to understand, that he's not different. He's different, but he's not different at the same time. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Totally.
You know, so yeah, I'm so excited about this journey. I'm so excited talking about Brendan right now, because I really see the good that all of this situation has brought us, and has made you as a mother to change, has made me as a teacher to change and see things in a different way, you know. And with that being said, we're so excited to start our journey.
Yes.
And what do you want to tell our viewers we're going to be giving them?
The first thing that I just thought of now was they are different, but they are not less.
Yes.
And when you mentioned that now, that just popped up, and that's something that came from Temple Grandin. She keeps saying that in any, she actually made a children's book as well.
Yeah.
And she mentions that, remember, you are different, but you are not less.
Yeah.
You're different.
So powerful. That is
very
so powerful.
So yeah, it is quite a journey for parents, teachers, anybody who works with these children. I mean, the child themselves. But there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yes.
And what I do want to say is that as a parent, it is daunting, especially if you know nothing of these things. I mean, we didn't study to be anything, whether it be a neurologist, whether it be an educational psychologist. And I do respect all those disciplines, but there is something about a motherly instinct that I feel should not be ignored. And the best thing I can say is, if parents, it is daunting, but if parents educate themselves, and this is a choice, the less daunting it becomes, and the more you could have, I always call it having a checklist to work off of, and just eliminating things that are not, so that you get closer to what it could be. Because when you know what it is that you're dealing with, it's so much better. Because I mean, we have internet, you know?
Yeah.
As a kid, we didn't have that. We had libraries. So now there's so much on the internet.
Yeah, there's everything in the internet. You just Google.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everything you just Google. I want to cook, Google. I want to run, Google.
So we have that great advantage, I feel.
Yeah.
So as a parent, don't give up. You know, you've got to be your child's advocate, because they have nowhere else to go. And they need this. They're the next gen. They are the next in line to be great in this world. And they can be if they have the right support from their parents. And teachers and whoever else, you know, anybody that deals with children, they need this to become what God has meant for them to become. You know?
Yeah. Wow. That is so powerful. Yeah, you really.
So that's all I can say.
You're such an inspiration, I must say. You're really an inspiration to me, to teachers, to parents. I believe someone out there would really relate to your story, and yeah, I'm so excited. I don't want to lie about this journey.
I am too.
So I'm really excited. And we'll be giving out tips in how you can identify whatever need your child has specifically. And like you said, checklist. We'll be giving a checklist. We're giving out the website. What's this? Technology.
Yes, assistive technology.
Yes, assistive technology. Yes.
So there's many things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about. Like I mentioned, Brendan has severe dyslexia, but it's not just that. There's sensory integrations. There's Erland syndrome, which is another topic we'll discuss. And there's so many. On occupational therapy with the sensory stuff, there's a whole bunch of branches we're going to tackle there. And neurological stuff, scientific stuff. There's so much to talk about to give people awareness, right? To create this awareness, because that's what we want to do. We want to help teachers, parents, children, everybody with these kids.
And it's one of the things that I was just thinking about, that someone could say, my child is okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to listen. But you have a friend that has a child.
Exactly.
You know, you have a aunt, whoever that can be. Or you know a child specifically that you know that this child, they have said names, they've given the child names. And maybe this could be a platform that you could learn some things for your child, or for the friend's child, or for whoever. And also as teachers, we'll be giving out pointers for teachers. How do you deal with them in the classroom? Because sometimes all of this specific specialists, they're quite expensive.
Yeah.
So what can I do? I'm a teacher, I have 30 students in the classroom. How do I deal with this one specific child that is quite different with the other kids?
Yes.
You know, so we'll be giving that.
That's another journey, actually. It's something that I missed in the journey was the financial aspect of it that you go through as a parent. You know that you don't budget for. And if you don't know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If parents can get themselves educated, I mean, you've already got a great advantage.
Yeah.
You know,
because all of these specialists, they need money. You have to pay for assessment.
It is quite costly.
You have to pay for more, I would say, products to use, because they don't use just normal pens, they use different pens. All of these things are costly, and these things will be tackling, and how you can work around it in your finances with what you have, using what you have to enhance your child's education. Yeah.
Exciting stuff ahead. Hey?
Yes. so much to do and so much to say, but we shall end for today. I think that's it for today, and I'm so happy that we have started this journey together, and so excited, and we'll be taking out the podcast every week, and many other things that we don't want to say. Stay tuned.
Yes.